This week in comic books, I hate to say it, I only have 4 books. And I'm not really sure how I ended up with only 4. Like, I was there, and there just wasn't anything. And there's no Marvel and no DC. And I even missed out on a couple of independents. Like, I got there, I don't know what happened. I really don't. So this is going to be a short one. So to make sure this gets caught up in the algorithm in some way, shape, or form, check this advertisement out for Coffee Brand Coffee. Hey, what's going on, folks? This is your boy Pocan Joe to talk to you about Coffee Brand Coffee. We serve people that are tired of gimmicky advertising and branded companies that want to lecture you. At Coffee Brand Coffee, all we want to do is serve you freshly roasted coffee wherever you're at, whenever you want it. Consider Coffee Brand Coffee. Check us out, check our reviews out, and use promo code POCANJOE or the link down in the description to save yourself some money. Give me the opportunity to get you a delicious cup of coffee. All right, you wonderful weirdos, let's strap in for this week's very short comic book haul and review. We're going to kick it off with Hack and Slash, Kill Your Idols. So check this out. Listen up. Look, if you read comic books in the 90s, I unfortunately did not, but I was made aware of some of these characters, and I've read recently some things from the 90s just so I would have an understanding of where Image was versus where it is now. So what we have now is we have Hack and Slash, which is really just a character by the name of Cassidy and her kind of sidekick muscle, if you will, right? Vlad. And they're kind of the supernatural, right? They kill reanimated corpses and zombies, monsters, whatever the case may be. And it was thought to believe that they've finished their mission, which ended their comic book series, right? Well, nope. Something has come back. And come to find out, it was a classic character from Image comic books way back in the day. When I say way back in the day, 20 years ago. This leads her on to another mystery where she ends up meeting up with classic Image characters from back in the day. We're talking about Super Patriot, you know, the Captain American cyborgish type character. We're talking about Bloodstrike. What comic book character doesn't have a Bloodstrike? And how many times have you dug into a 50-cent dollar bin and found Bloodstrike #1? Right? It's like Turok #1. It's like everybody sees it. Right? Kind of teams up to get more of the aggressive superhero stylings of it as they go on their mission and find out who's reanimating things. We also find out something interesting in this. I think they're bringing back the characters on longer runs. That's my speculation. Because the way they ended it is that the story must always continue as we find out Cassidy is the embodiment of a story to carry forward. And we know that our characters from the 90s have been reanimated, if you will. So that's pretty cool. I say 90s 2000-ish, right? That's really cool to know. So my question to the community is, one, if they bring these characters back, right, and they start gaining a little bit of popularity with the people out there, especially Image fans and people that may remember some of this stuff, nostalgia pills, if you will, right? Good old nostalgia pills. Will it drive up the value, or not value? No, I don't mean value. I mean price of, say, Bloodstrike #1, or maybe the first appearance of Super Patriot, or whatever the case may be. Will this actually drive? Will there be a demand to go get these first appearances and things like that? And are we going to start seeing those ridiculous prices on eBay? Because for some reason, that's everybody's go-to what something costs is eBay. I don't know why. That's just the most, probably because it's the easiest one to use. But whatever the case may be, that's another criticism for another day. But, you know, will these books go up in value? My spec, if I had to spec on this, I would think so. Or at least some people will try to take advantage of it and try to convince you. So I'm telling you now, if they're going to continue these stories and they gain any momentum of popularity right now, I would probably go out and grab these up and just kind of stow them away. And whenever you see somebody with a ridiculous price, just beat it by a little bit. You're only getting it for $1. Look at that. Me helping you make money. You're welcome. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's go into Minor Threat. This is by Patton Oswalt. Now, normally I don't tell you the writer or the artist or the team on a book unless it's significant in my review in some way, shape, or form. And it is in this one because good old Patty there should not be writing comic books. He was not a good stand-up comedian. I don't find him a particularly good actor. And more importantly, I do not consider him part of nerd culture in any way. For some reason, Hollywood, entertainment industry, like to prop him up as the nerd. You know, like, oh, this is what we think a nerd looks like, right? They do the same thing with Will Wheaton and a couple of other just Benedicts out there, just strange viewpoints. And this comes through in the comic book. Told you I'd bring it back around to comic books. In this one, we have a gay African-American female and a white female in a relationship. That's very important to them. That's not me. That's them. And this is why I hate doing these things, as I have my strange interlude real quick. Because this is going to come off as me as being a bad guy or misogynistic or whatever. I don't care about name calling. But the fact is, I'm just criticizing the comic book. I want to make that clear. You have to do that on YouTube now. So they're in this relationship, and their intimate moments always come up at the most unorganic times and cringiest times you can possibly randomly throw it into a comic book. I say this because we don't know, right, if our character, Playtime, that's what she's calling herself, cringy. She kind of comes off as a toy master kind of thing. She uses like Rubik's Cubes, big wheels, blah, blah, blah. It's very dumb. It's dumb. Any time that you kind of start leaning towards, is this the hero or is this the behind the scenes villain? They kind of just randomly throw in this weird like lesbian kiss or this weird backstory to a character called Backdrop, which by the way is just dumb. You would think Backdrop, with a name like Backdrop, right? He could like morph into what I would look like in the background here. Not this guy. Now, he basically turns into the type of person you would see in the background as you have the main character forward. Yeah, that's his superpower. He's a side character, an NPC. I'm just going to keep right on rolling with this. I'm going to leave that one alone because that's just dumb. Apparently, they're super successful, super smart, nothing but compliments to each other throughout the entire comic book and how girl boss she really is. This written by an overweight white man and boomer or late Gen Xer at best. I don't know, ladies. I probably wouldn't let somebody like that tell my story. Just throwing that out there. Play their game. It's bad. It's like a bunch of random ideas kind of came together. Like, ooh, let's put this in there. Ooh, let's put this in there. Well, how are we connecting this? Lesbian kiss. Ta-da. Because if they say anything about it, they're horrible people. That's what I feel like when I'm reading this stuff. And that was just bad. I regret buying it. I really do. Like, it's $5 I could have spent on something else. Like a soda. Half a soda. Things are expensive now. Moving on. Let's talk about Geiger Universe. Let's get ourselves happy. Ooh, let's do it. We got to do it. Clean up the guns. Pick of the week. And here's why. I like what they're doing here. And nobody had like when Geiger first came out, Volume 1, nobody had it really on their radar at the time. Like, people weren't losing their minds in the first 3 issues, right? But then as the story progressed and went on, people were really enjoying it. We know we're talking about a dystopian future. We've got a guy who's got superpowers from radioactive waste. That's a shout out to the atomic age of comics right there. That's just cool by itself. We also have a 2-headed wolf. He doesn't like dire wolves with 2 heads. Like, that's awesome. And he can kind of power up, and he's got super strength and nuclear powers, the whole 9 yards, right? So now you're caught up on who he is. We're in Volume 2, and in Volume 2, we're taking more of a Western, spaghetti Western type of theme with the story now. And we may even have a sidekick by the name of Nate the Knight. If you read Volume 1, you understand the gimmick there. If you didn't, don't get hung up on it, because you can jump into Volume 2 easily. I know you've already heard people talking about Geiger. You can jump into this, and you don't need a whole bunch of narrative from the first volume to have you up to date. And they don't spend a lot of time explaining it either. You get there was an event, You get what happened to them, and then we immediately launch into the new mystery, the new story, and the moral conflict that our character has to go through. Do I bring Nate the Knight with me so we can do good guy stuff, or do I just abandon him because I don't really want to deal with people? I feel that probably resonates with me more than anything. Like, there's just some days I'm just like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to be left alone. And then people come. It's like, oh. But anyway, I digress. So all in all, this is a great story, and it's reason it's the best way to launch off of Volume 2 when there was no expectation of a Volume 2 to even happen, to be honest with you. This is great. And now that we've built an entire universe around it, that's even better. So yeah, Granger #1, boom, solid read, solid book. If you liked Volume 1, you're going to love it. If you didn't read Volume 1, don't worry, give this one a try. I'm pretty sure you'll be okay with it. Next, let's talk about, again, in the whole Geiger universe, we get Rook Exodus. This is good. This is good too. I'm excited about this. It may have been a small haul this week, but I'm going to tell you, read some good stuff, except for Minor Threat. This is kind of a weird story. So again, we're dealing with dystopian future. I think most of our books from the Geiger universe that's being built is going to be about dystopian futures and how there are some good but very bad people in there. And everybody kind of has a leave me alone type of attitude. That's what we kind of get in here too. So in a dystopian future, a bunch of people decide to take off to the planet because why clean it up when you can just go live someplace else? Leave the poors here while the rich take off. But the rich don't want to do anything. They got to bring a worker class with them. So some people go along. Normies, right? Later get called wardens. They get called wardens because to help them work on this planet for the rich people that are there, they get kind of issued this kind of weird helmet that lets them speak or work with a specific, did I say spectacular? I did. A specific species of animal. So Rook, right? And it's pretty self-explanatory. One guy's named Swine. You got it. He can talk to pigs. Mostly wild boars, but whatever. There's a guy who can deal with bears, dire wolves, the whole 9 yards. And to kind of help them manage and control the world that they live in while the worker class kind of do it. Well, all of a sudden, some mechanical failures happen on the planet, and the planet's shutting down. And the rich are like, yeah, we got to go back to Earth. But don't worry, we'll be back to get you. You just hang tight and abandon them while they take off. Shoot back to Earth or whatever planet. I'm assuming Earth. Whatever. While they're there, they're made to fend on their own. And, of course, tribalism happens. And especially with everybody kind of broken out into animals, it just kind of makes sense, right? Like the guy that deals with birds is kind of friends with the guy that deals with pigs. And they have a loner lady that kind of deals with wolves. And then there's a guy that's kind of aggressive and mean. And he talks to bears. And it looks like he's going to be our bad guy in this one. That's kind of cool. So we got a lot of interesting things going on in here, and the artwork kind of constantly reminds you of this kind of battle, right, between nature and industrialism, right? Kind of forces it together, right? Like think of it this way, right? The nature aspect, the animals that through a mechanical industrial making of a mask allows me to speak to them or work with them, right? But there's technology gets old and starts to fail, and nature takes over. There are people in the comic book that are trying to make their own rockets to sail back off. I think that's interesting, right? A little backyard survival for engineering, if you will, to get off the planet themselves. I find this book extremely fascinating. I love the dialogue in it. It makes sense. I always love stories where the person not only has to struggle with the environment that they live in, but they have to struggle with the people in that environment. So sometimes a little quick wit, a little ingenuity, hopefully you can come up with something. And that's what makes this fantastic. Loved it. If Geiger was not on my reading list this week, this would have been the pick of the week, no doubt. All right, so regrets, something I missed out. I need your help with out there. So as the Geiger universe expands, I got a solicitation that Redcoat 1 came out, and I really wanted to read that, right? I love 1776 stuff, right? And then the immortal man type story behind it, and then you give him an ego, right? We got that in the preview. I really wanted to see that, but I didn't see it on the stands, and I didn't really have a chance to talk to my comic book owner about it. So I don't know if it actually came out. It was kind of a weird week at my comic book shop. Like, some things came in, some things didn't. So if you read it, please let me know if it, one, came out, and two, what you thought of it. Is it worth my time? If you watch the show enough, you know what I kind of like to read, and I just kind of described it to you. So if that's what's going on there, let me know. Is it worth my time to chase this thing down and go find it? Or if you're like, Pocan, it's like minor threat and you're not going to like it. Let me know in the comments down below. I would really like to know. While you're down there, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the bell if you haven't already. And hey, if I shared any value with you here, can you share it with somebody? That would be great. Thank you very much. Other than that, I got nothing else. I got nothing. Short week. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.